Hey, what's going on, everybody? Y'all already know. You don't have to guess who it is. You already know. It's Guess Who the Rapper, a.k.a. the Grand Ambassador Flash Dynasty. Here to lace your brain with some incredible and glorious game once again, man. Before I begin, I always like to say this. If you like yourself, hit that like button. If you like someone else, hit that share button. And if you love yourself, hit that subscribe button. Hey, and if you want your notifications, hit that notification button. That way you be certified and notified, man, once the video drops. You know what I'm saying? So, what I want to talk about tonight is the topic will be tell your story before your enemies do. All right? And that just dropped in me like a few moments ago, because sometimes, I just get led by, what I should be talking about or what I'm going to talk about, whatever. And it'll get more, consistent, or more organized. But for right now, I feel like that may be important. Like, someone may need to hear this. And it might be good advice to someone that's trying to do something, have a great endeavor, and they trying to do something great in their life, and they don't want anything. They want to be, prepared for a certain situation, or should I say, conquer certain situations before they even arrive. What's so important about telling your story before your enemies do? All right. The reason why I say that is, like, last night, I took a trip down memory lane to discuss, as my man Syphil the P would say, give y'all the F's on my report card. You know what I mean? So you could feel comfortable and secure about yourself, even though you've done and made mistakes in the past. And also this also will give you the clearance to not allow your past to be an interference of you speaking the truth about, just exhibiting your flaws, your idiosyncrasies, and the devils that, or the struggles that you had to overcome and conquer. Like I was dealing with addiction, you know what I mean? And I listed them: pornography addiction, crack cocaine addiction, alcohol addiction, drug addiction, addiction to going, just being on the scene, clubbing, and getting, hanging out and being on the scene, and that party lifestyle and all that comes with it, like the drugs, sex, and the women. I was addicted to all of that. The drugs, the sex, as well as the women, you know what I mean? So, of course, I couldn't have sex without the women. But anyway, I was willing to become like the sacrificial lamb and utter, my faults and flaws and stuff, and be, and offer them as a sacrificial lamb and put it out there. That way, hey, if someone comes later, or Johnny come lately with some sort of slander, or saying, oh, he used to smoke crack, or he used to sniff coke, or he used to pimp women, or he used to be a gangbanger, or he used to, do drugs, or he was a criminal, you know what I mean? and whatever you've done in the past, like, and whatever you've done in the past, that's the past. You know what I mean? That's the past. And you put it out there before your enemy do, because you feel when you do put your story out before your enemy does, what that does is, it's like what Bruce Lee said, you learn the art of dying to the old member, the old person of your past, the old you know what I'm saying? Your mind is being renewed, you know what I mean? You're going through a transformation by the renewing of your mind, like the Bible says. This is all part of the glow game for show, glow game for life, you know what I mean? and to conquer things that you've done in your past. That way you're not held in your self-made a prison, and due to other people's opinions about what you've done in your past, you know what I mean? As if they don't have a past. Everybody has a past. Everybody has dark secrets and things like that, and things they've done that they're not so proud of. You know what I mean? And you're no different, but neither are they. They're no different either. You just bold enough to tell about it. And just like Bruce Lee said, it's like, you know, just like everybody else. I'll never forget Bruce Lee said this. Just like everybody else, you want to learn the way to win, but rather to accept the way to lose. To learn to die is to be liberated from it. And he was talking to one of his students. We're having a match the next day. It was like, so when tomorrow comes, you must free your ambitious mind and learn the art of dying. So you're learning to die to yourself. And hey, that was the past. And part of that is being a prisoner of public opinion. You know what I mean? Prisoners of other people's opinion, and you become liberated from it once you tell the truth about what you have done, and how you've overcame those things. You know what I mean? Because you can't be held prisoner of the past, and just like what I've learned with Brother Malcolm X said, excuse me, Brother Malcolm X said this: to have once been a criminal is no disgrace. And I took that. To have once been a crackhead is no disgrace. To have once been a womanizer is no disgrace. To have once been a pimp or a gangster or a drug addict or alcoholic or a domestic violent abuser or whatever you've done that was so abominable. Some of them are, abominable. You know what I mean? Even in the realm of homosexuality. If you're redeemed from that, then even that, you know what I mean? You could be redeemed from them. There's like a code in the streets called snitching, you know what I'm saying? And you can see, why that has merit for you not to do that, because y'all agreed to participate in a certain activity. 9 out of 10 times it's criminal activity. And when you go and get the one police or one time to get yourself out of trouble, you know what I mean, and y'all agreed to do that, you've done that, you know what I mean? You tell to get out of trouble. That's snitching. That's an abomination to most people. Like, they basically tell you, hey, it's almost like an unpardonable sin, or you can't come back from stuff like that if you're in that criminal lifestyle. I'm talking about people that's strictly criminals. Nowadays, they're transposing a lot of that stuff onto civilians, but if you violate manhood, you know what I mean? But I'm going back to the snitching. But if you're converted and changed from that, and you're no longer in that lifestyle, hey, they could say whatever they want, but you could be redeemed from that in the eyes of Christ, period. That's the only life you need to worry about anyway. So there's a lot of things that you may have done and you may have once been these things. You know what I mean? Some of you may be to have once been an alcoholic, where drinking was part of your everyday life and you can't seem to kick it. You know what I mean? To have once been an alcoholic, or a womanizer, or for the ladies, to once been a prostitute, you know what I mean, to once been on drugs, and you know what I mean, to once been, you might have abused your children or something like that. But to have once been a criminal, drug addict, crackhead, alcoholic, a pothead is no disgrace. And I like how he put it. He was like, but to remain those things is the disgrace. You should, so have once been all this stuff is no disgrace. But to remain that stuff, there's the disgrace. You know what I mean? And especially if you're, I can see if you're struggling, you want to get over it, and you want to cease from doing a lot of these things, and you're seeking help and advice and, you know, spiritual power, you go to God for it and pray to the Father in the name of Jesus Christ that you be changed and change your heart and your mind. That's different. But if you like unrelenting and unrepentant under those things, you're going to stay there. And that's a shame. That's the disgrace. You know what I mean? You know, you tell your story before, you know, your enemy does. Like, I remember back in North Carolina, right? Now, this is, to me, this violates manhood, you know, to me. Like, I don't care what nobody else thinks. This is how I felt. And it's not like I was tricked into it. It was because of the spirit of fear. I had gotten, long story short, I had gotten to a fight in North Carolina, and I was drinking, you know, with an enemy, an adversary. I knew he didn't like me, and I didn't like him, and I stayed away from him. But one day, I let my guards down, and, you know, I wasn't working out like I should, and I wasn't, you know, in shape or prepared for fighting, for a war, or to get into a fisticuffs with that person, right? And I knew this, you know what I mean? So that's why I was like, let me just stay away from him, you know what I mean? But I was never really like scared of him, but I didn't like him, and I didn't like how I felt being unprepared. That frightened me, you know what I mean? So I let my guard down, you know, he like, come chill with me, you know, thinking that everything is cool and or whatever. Whole time, you know, I start drinking, you know what I mean? And I get drunk, you know what I mean? And it's like he didn't get as drunk as I did. And I'm not saying he's purposely set me up or whatever. I don't care about none of that. But what I do know he did is he utilized that time of us hanging together to get at me. You know what I mean? Start talking and whatever. They start talking junk to where I had to say, I was like, you know what? You know, I don't like you. You don't like me, and you're trying to get at me now, and you see that I'm drunk. And I was like, man, yo, whatever. You know what I mean? Whatever. What you want to do? So I, you know what I mean? Like, what's good? You know what I mean? That came out of me. Like what's good? Like, you know, no matter what, I'm going to defend myself. So I just get out of the car, but I'm drunk now, and he boom hit me. I don't even know I'm hit. You know, man, this is how lit I am. I don't even know I'm hit. So I hit the ground like boom, 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 boom. I hit the ground, and you know what I mean. And I'm like stumbling. This is my first time ever getting hit like this, right? So I was like, I'm out of it, you know what I mean? And we was somewhere not that far from the house, but we was in walking distance, but we drove to wherever we were at. So I wind up, and they left me there. So I wind up walking home, and the thing is, we lived together. So we were roommates. So what happened was, I'm already on the phone. I'm already at the house on the porch, and I'm knowing he's coming back. So I'm telling my homie on the phone that lived down there. I was like, yo, you'll never guess what happened. Boom, boom. This nigga done, you know what I mean? You know, started a fight with me. I'm twisted right now. You know what I'm saying? And nigga done punched me all in the face and whatever, man. And then they just drove off, left me, man. And then at that time, the owner of the house, you know, I was staying in one of their rooms, and so was he, and they was talking about calling the police on me, you know what I'm saying? And if they did that, I'd have been homeless because I didn't have nowhere to go, you know what I mean? I didn't have anywhere to go at that time. So I was like, you know what I'm saying? And he over there talking about throwing me out, and then my friend was like, man, you need to call the cops on them before they call them on you. You know how it is down here, the dirty South, you know what I'm saying? He was kicking that in my ear, you know what I'm saying? And then I started getting afraid, like, you know what I mean? Like, first of all, I knew that I couldn't beat him whether I was drunk or not, because I knew I wasn't in shape. I knew I wasn't who I'm supposed to be. You know what I mean? I knew I wasn't ready. Not only that, I knew that if they did call the cops on me, that was it. You know what I mean? And it can get me put out, because the dude wanted to get me put out with the owner, and the owner was already more on his side. You know what I mean? Like, and even the owner of the apartment or whatever was threatening to put me out. And I was like, dang, y'all gotta do that? He's like, yeah, son. So the dude comes back. He was like, yo, is it still on? I said, of course. You know what I mean? So, my pride wouldn't let him know that I was a like, I wasn't no punk, but I'm just saying, like, I'm gonna fight, period. You know what I mean? What, scared or not, or whatever, if I get thrown out, or if I lose, you know what I mean? And my thing was, I didn't like feeling afraid. I was afraid to feel afraid, because I thought that made you a punk or chump, just because you felt afraid. I always thought like this for some reason. I thought that courage was the absence of feeling fear, And like I said, told my last night, I was like, look, I was never trained in the disciplines of how I used to fight, because I used to fight naturally, and I had, bit of skills, but I always wanted the highest form of fighting, you know what I mean? Like, either getting in the boxing ring and coming semi-professional, or martial arts, you know what I mean? And being real good, like being top notch at it, so I could feel confident about it and remove all fear. But it's not like that. But I always thought like that. Like, just because I'm feeling fear, I felt like, damn, man, I hate this feeling. So we getting back into it again. Boom, boom, boom. I lose again, knowing that I was going to lose, but I lost it. So the next day, the owner was, I was hearing whisperings and stuff like that. And this nigga was walking through the kitchen to my, this bitch ass nigga ain't say nothing to me today or whatever. And I just was like, yo, I'm gonna stab this. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm about to stab him, like, because I had a knife on me. And I was like, nah, if I do that, I might end up in jail or something like that. And I never dawned on me to take accountability. Like, look, man, you need to get in shape. You supposed to be, you know what I mean? You supposed to be on point. You have to stay ready. You have to stay ready, so you don't have to get ready. You know what I mean? And but anyway, but because of fear, you know what I mean? Because of fear, one, being afraid to fight him again, like, and afraid to stab him, because I was like, I'm not gonna do that. I ain't gonna fight him right now, because I'm lumped up. I'm not in the condition to fight, and my pride was hurt, and I was on a thin line of getting put out. Man, I took my friend's advice, man, and called the police, you know what I mean? And when they showed up and kicked him out of the house, I wasn't satisfied with it. You know what I mean? I wasn't, it bothered me, it troubled me. But little did I know that you had to come to court. I was like, I had to come to court? I thought I was just going to get him out, like, so they don't get me out listening to him. I ain't even really thinking. And plus, it was like coming off a hangover, but that's no excuse. I did it. I'm the one that boom, 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 and called. And when I had to go to court and tell my story, I was like, man, I was like, nah. I was like, I was like, dog, you a sucker for that. You know what I mean? Talking to myself, I was like, that was unmanly. And it was like the end of the world to me when I had to sit and tell my story. I was like, oh man, it felt like snitching. Even though I know the real term of snitching, it just felt like it. It was like, oh man, that was some, I was like, that was, and it was unmanly, man. It felt worse to me. I don't know how people feel when they snitch or whatever, but violating manhood to me was just, oh man, I was like, I can't believe I did that, because it was so unmanly to me. And I, manhood, or trying to poke your chest out and thought what I, what I thought to be what a man was, man. We don't do, like, whatever makes you feel like a sucker. Like, oh, I was just like, oh, and I hated feeling like a sucker, man. That's why I was like scared or not. I used to be like, bah, you know what I mean? Whatever, you know what I mean? Like, eventually, you know what I mean? So I told her, you know what I mean? Like, I was just like, yo, I don't like that. Will I ever do that again? Hell no. You know what I mean? Like, because that's a punk, that's a chump, that's a violating manhood, you know what I mean? And I heard they just say that's a, you know what I mean? Like, that was so weak, you know what I mean? Like, so, like, oh, then niggas could say, oh, he called the cops after he lost a fight, man. Oh, that's just was like, oh, I wasn't thinking, man. But anyway, that was the past. And after torturing myself over that, you could really have that over you, you know what I mean? But then you be like, okay, I'll never do that again, you know what I mean? I learned from it. It was a mistake, it was stupid, and I took accountability because I was afraid, you know what I mean? Afraid of losing the fight again and getting my behind whooped. That's why, a lot of people be, you know what I mean, getting rid of people, deleting people because they are punk, you know what I mean? They're a sucker, you know what I mean? And that was acting, by me having that knife in my hand and all that, that's a sucker, you know what I mean? And I didn't like that, you know what I mean? I was being a punk right there. I was being a chump right there, having a knife in my hand. And I was even a bigger sucker for calling the popo, you know what I mean, to get the dude kicked out the house. That was some bitch, that was the sucker shit, right? And I had to wear that, you know what I mean? But I'm also the type, like, I might cry hard, but I don't cry long, you know what I mean? Like, hey, I did that, but I'll never do that again, you know what I mean? And do it, let's try again, you know what I mean? I'll fillet your last fish, you know what I mean? Because this time I'm gonna be ready, you know what I mean? And you ain't got to worry about that now. Me calling the police or whatever, because win, lose, or draw, this is how it's gonna go down, you know what I mean? And I'm gonna put these up. I'm not gonna pull out no burner, no hammer, or nothing like that, or no knife and no weapons like that. It's gonna be, if you win, lose, or draw, because that was so debilitating to me. Oh man, I didn't like it. But as the more I was putting it out there to myself and telling people and confessing and taking ownership and taking accountability for it and calling it how I would see it if somebody else was to do that, that's a sucker move. I was like, yo, bro, that's a sucker move, you know what I mean? Don't you ever do nothing like that again. Don't ever violate your manhood, reduce yourself like that ever again, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So I was like, yo, once I started getting that out, you know what I'm saying? And it just come to the realization that I was learning the art of dying by putting that out there. And as I put that out there and learned it, I was liberated from it. Tell your story before your enemy does, you know what I mean? So you could be liberated from that, what you have done that you're ashamed of in the past. Just like it tells you in the Bible, confess your sins, you know what I mean? You confess them. Confess your sins, you know what I mean? Confess them out of your mouth. Don't hide them. Don't try to bury them, you know, even if you're ashamed of it. But everything ain't for everybody either. Like, if you done something that's incredibly abominable, like raped or, raped, or, you know, mishandled a child, yeah, you might want to keep that to yourself. Stop, or, you know what I mean? You go on that path with the Most High and the Most High alone, because that might be too heavy. But, you know, unless he give you the spirit and the boldness to come out with that, you know what I mean? Because some things are just, like, in society, unforgivable. They're unpardonable, you know what I mean? And that's very tough, you know, for you to come out with that, you know what I mean? No. Or come out with it, so we'll see you, you know what I mean? Like, look, it is what it is. You could be liberated from even stuff like that in the eyes of God. You can, but eyes of man, you know, it's gonna be rough, you know what I mean? But my point is this: you can conquer situations of anybody coming up to you later on, accusing you of something that they so happen to find out about you that you didn't, you know, make known. As if they, like, you, if you didn't make it known, as if you're trying to hide it. Now they have it and they expose you. And oh, he called the cops on the nigga before, or she, you know, has sex with a teen before, or, you know, or he snitched before, or not snitched, but he got caught up with a young girl, even though you probably didn't know she was a young girl, because a lot of dudes, especially in the game of pimping and hoeing, was catching up with young girls that was lying about their ID. Oh, he got caught up with that before, or whatever. But you get out here, you know, and you tell the truth and tell your story before your enemies can tell you, man, it loses the power. It loses that accusation or that slander or that exposure. It loses its power. You conquer it before they even get out there. They be like, it's just like with that battle in 8 Mile. Y'all need to watch 8 Mile. That last battle with B Rabbit, played by Eminem, and Papa Doc, played by Anthony Mackie. When Eminem was rapping in the last battle, and he said, "I'm gonna go first," and he just basically started telling everything about himself that he was probably going to say, that Papa Doc was probably going to say about him. He's like, yeah, I am white. I am an effing bum. I do live in the trailer with my mom. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean? I did get jumped by y'all, and Wink did F my girl. I'm still standing here saying F the free world. Like, but then he said, I know something about you. And he exposed what he was hiding. You know what I mean? He put his business out there, and Papa Doc was hiding his business, that he went to a private school, yet he was acting like a tough guy or a gangster and a thug. You know what I mean? This guy don't want to battle. He shook, because ain't no such things as halfway crooks. You know what I mean? Scared to death, scared to look in his yearbook. You know what I mean? And he went to Cranbrook. So that's what I'm talking about. For all people want to give the example, he put himself out there, and it was very clever, because by the time Papa Doc got the mic, everything he was gonna say, and then before Eminem passed him or B Rabbit passed him the mic, he said, "Now tell this crowd something they don't know about me." So when you're in it's about time your enemies get the mic on the tales of the Crips and the tales of the dark side of your life, and they get the mic, they can't say anything, because you could pass them the mic and say, "Now tell the world something that they don't already know about me." What you gonna say? That I called the cops on the nigga before? What you gonna say? That I used to smoke crack sometimes before, sniff coke, sometime before it was a pothead, was an alcoholic? What you gonna say? That I used to abuse women? What you gonna say? They already know that. I already admitted all that. Yeah, they already know all that about me. What you gonna say? You know what I mean? That's what I'm meaning about. Um, tell your story before your enemies do. Because I am no longer those things anymore. You know what I mean? That old person has died, and and in Christ I'm a new creature. Behold, all things became new. So I'm new. So what you gonna say about me? What you gonna tell these people? Tell these people something. Go ahead. Go ahead. Tell them something they don't already know about me. They already know. What you gonna tell them? They already know. Why? Because I told them already. Right on the mic, right before you got on the mic. Yeah, you want to spit lyrics about the tales of the dark side of my life. No. They already know. I just told them. Now tell them something they don't know about me. That's why I say, and I learned this from Andre Taylor. Shout out to Gorgeous Dre. Gorgeous Dre was one of the pimps from American Pimp. But I need to go to his channel, Andre Taylor's channel, and listen to some of his messages and videos. But shout out to him. Yeah, I learned that. Tell your story before your enemies do. That way, you'll conquer that situation long before, long before it even comes into your life via an enemy or adversary of slander or something. Somebody trying to minimize your character or something like that. You can't minimize me. I already told everybody that. And I'm liberated from it. And there's no disgrace to it because I did not remain any of those things. Period. That's what I'm talking about. Don't let you have a blast in your past. You dig? Have a blast past. Have a wow now and a greater later. Live the life of your design so you can have a good time for a lifetime. Live the life of his design so your life will be divine for the rest of your lifetime. This lifetime and the one thereafter. And the one in the here and the after. And the by and by. And the sweet by and by. You did? And I'm going to sign off with that. Man, I hope this blesses y'all, man. Don't be confined. Don't let anybody design you to be in confinement about things that happened in your past and behind you. You can't drive forward looking behind. You did? So and if you are going to look behind, look behind for the messages and have a blast. Look all the times where you had a blast in your life. Find a wow in your now. And prepare for that greater in your later, and see the greater in your later. And that's what I'm teaching y'all. The greater in your later is to be prepared. You know what I mean? Prepare. Cripple that incident. Destroy it before it even comes. Silence the critics before they even utter a word. You dig? And I'm telling you how to do it. It's $1 billion glow game for you right here. You dig? Glow game for show. You dig? I love y'all, man. Thank y'all for coming, looking at the video. I hope it blesses you, you know what I'm saying? And, hey, I'm just trying to make you feel liberated and free so you can get more to the glow, to reach that level. Your mind, body, and soul must be one. Hey, consider rapping the capacity of the reluctant YouTuber. I love y'all. I'm signing out. Peace.